Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news. In fact, welcome back. We've just been reacting to Dorgu. Here we go. With the 8 o'clock show. Lots to get into, which is, it's interesting. Ruben Amorim has been speaking about Casemiro and given a big indicator as why he wants him to go. Could he be going in the next few days? Also, Marcus Rashford, big developments there, posing the question of some of the clubs that are now being linked to Marcus Rashford would not be clubs you would have been thinking about at the start of the month. Would you still be comfortable if Marcus Rashford went on loan to West Ham for the rest of the season? Is that something that's unpalatable? I actually think not. I think if the money's in the Premier League and they're going to pay half his wages and he's cup tied against us, I mean, he wouldn't play against us anyway. Why would you not look at doing a deal like that? Also, the latest on Garnacho, we will talk about that. A bit of an update from the Chelsea side coming in and a lot more as well. I also want to just to bring something into the show that I was sent earlier today from, I need to find it. Where was it? It's around somewhere. I want to talk about something we've had from the Portuguese side about Ruben Amorim and his treatment of Marcus Rashford. I might have bloody deleted it. What a prat. I had it ready to go a few minutes ago. And I think because of the deal that came in. Oh no, I've got it here. Offering insights on Ruben Amorim. So about Rashford, remind me about that. It's very interesting about how the British press are exposed again for not doing their homework, considering Ruben Amorim did exactly the same thing to a big player at Sporting when he first went in as to what he's doing to Rashford now. And it built camaraderie, morale, removed player FC and built a better squad dynamic. The sacrificial lamb, essentially, and Ruben Amorim has already done it. Anyway, let's get into the first story. We'll get into the first story we're going to talk about anyway. But before we do that, let me just say that tonight's show is sponsored by Boohooman. You'll notice that I've had a change of clothing. One, because I've been in that zip-up top all day and it's the evening and I want to relax. And two, because it's Boohooman who are sponsoring us and I like to put on my oversized jumper to chill in. And that's what Boohooman's all about. We love the Boohooman here on the United Stand. They've worked with us for years. You can get a 10% discount with them by using the code Goldbridge. This will go on top of discounts that are already on their website. You can go on the website, order a load of clothes, get it delivered to your door. Don't forget to use that extra 10% with the code Goldbridge. They've got gym wear, they've got jumpers, they've got five-a-side wear, they've got relax wear, they've got underwear, they've got the lot at Boohooman. So check it out and get yourself kitted out for the winter season. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code to head over there. But not only that, when you are shopping at Boohooman and getting your clothing in like this, and fantastic, lovely lining on this as well, makes you just feel nice and warm these winter nights. But they also like to do us a little bit of trivia. It's not nanny. Can you name the Man United player? I was born on the 31st of December 1960. I began my career in 1979 at Gillingham Football Club. They would have been 19. In 1984, I moved to Norwich, then joined Man United in 1987. I think I know who it is. At United, I won 12 major trophies, including 3 Premier League titles, 3 FA Cups, 1 League Cup, and the European Cup winners in 1991. I got it on Norwich, by the way. I left Man United in 96, played for Birmingham City and Sheffield United, and retired in 99. And today, I'm the head coach of Blackpool Football Club. Of course, it is Steve Bruce, and I was playing along there, and I got it on Clue 3. Moved to Norwich. Well done to me. A big thank you to Boohooman for supporting the show. Don't forget to check out the code Goldbridge. Get 10% off on top of everything else they've got off on there. Check the website out, boohooman.com. Thank you, everybody. It's Steve Bruce. Okay, Brucey bonus. Let's get into the show. Ruben Amorim has been talking about his situation at Manchester United, and again, another very open and honest assessment when asked about Casemiro. Now, I'm going to read this out, and you can take from it what you want. Ruben Amorim has been asked about, I've got to say, it's another interview. Can somebody at Man United please take note? We are in the bottom half of the table. The team can't play Amorim ball. You won't buy many players. I know we've got Dorgu, but he needs a lot more. Has anybody considered that it might be an idea to stop him doing so many bloody interviews? Because every day there's a new interview. we can't play football the way he wants us to. Maybe not doing interviews and doing more training might be helpful. But anyway, Ruben Amorim has been asked about Casemiro's lack of game time. And this is hot on the heels of news that Manchester United are willing to loan Casemiro out this month and pay some of his wages. Incredible, really. Incredibly sad, actually, that we bought Casemiro, we got 1 year out of Casemiro. We spent £60 million on him. We gave him 350k a week. He's still got 2 years left on his deal. And here we are, the second transfer in the window in a row where we can't move him on. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. He should be embarrassed. He should be embarrassed that how his game is so poor, it doesn't even work in the Premier League anymore. But Man United should be embarrassed about the money they're paying, £350,000 a week. It's absolutely embarrassing that now we're looking to loan him and pay half his wages again. Anyway, this is what Amorim had to say about why can't he just use him? You know, instead of loaning him, why aren't you using him? I think he's been an unused sub for weeks now. Amorim said this: "We understand that Casemiro has other things nowadays. The intelligence he has, understanding the game, understanding where the ball is going to fall. But we're in a league that I can see, even in European competitions, the difference in intensity is big." So what he's basically saying is, look, Casemiro can read the game and he has his qualities, but in the modern game, he doesn't stand up to them because the intensity isn't there. And he said, "I feel that the team also needs players with a very high intensity. And sometimes we don't have that. And sometimes that difference in characteristic can lead one player or another player. Even the fact that the group has a certain characteristic as a group, I needed some players in certain positions with a slightly different pace. But we all know the quality Casemiro has and everything he's won. And so I have nothing to say about that. It's just a choice." I think that's a very nice way of saying Casemiro is too slow for my team. And we saw it last season with Ten Hag. And look, Ten Hag persisted with it and it was a bloody nightmare. I mean, you look at Casemiro last year, he was a bloody nightmare. No legs at all. So I think what Amorim is saying in a very nice way is that I respect Casemiro. He trains well. He's won a lot. He's a very experienced player. He's a very good player, but he ain't got any bloody legs. So that's why I don't pick him. And at the end of the day, is there anybody in this fan base that genuinely thinks Casemiro should be playing games for Manchester United? I mean, or is that just Player FC where, wow, he's won he played for Real Madrid and he won Champions Leagues. The guy just ain't good enough. He's not got the legs. If he had the legs of, Collier, then we'd have probably one of the best midfielders in the country. Like we did that first season. He was bloody brilliant. But something happened after that first season where Casemiro came back and lost 50% of his manoeuvrability. And that's what Amorim's doing. And Amorim just doesn't mess about. He just doesn't mess about. Why should he? I mean, we are shit. And he's still not picking Rashford and Casemiro. Imagine what he thinks we'd be if we did. So I agree with him on this. And it's time to go. But it's sad that we're sort of hitting the point now where I think that the board will be sat with Amorim saying, we can't sell this player. We know we need to sell him, but we can't. And similar with Rashford, I think the board will be putting their hands up to Amorim and saying, look, I know you don't want them. We can't sell them. So what do you want to do? And Amorim, because he's quite rightly stubborn, will say, well, just because you can't sell them isn't going to make me change my mind. Like, what do you want me to do? You brought me into the club. You told me to assess the players. I've assessed the players. I've told you those two players aren't part of my plan. You've tried to sell them. You haven't sold them. You come back to me. What do you want me to do? Oh, because you can't sell them, I've suddenly changed my mind. Maybe previous managers have done that. I'm going to keep telling you the same thing. I don't want to use them in my team. So you need to find another solution. And that other solution is going to be loaning them and paying their wages. Which, to be honest with you, out of the three scenarios, selling them's the best. Putting them back in the team is the worst. And loaning them and paying half their wages is not great, but it's better than keeping them and using them, I think. So our inability to sell Casemiro is quite interesting. I saw today that Talisca has left the Saudi league to go and play in the Turkish league. There was talk a couple of weeks ago that if he left, that frees up a transfer in the Saudi league because obviously they have allocations. I was thinking today, look, Talisca, Brazilian midfielder, leaving. Does that mean Casemiro? But it's still very, very quiet on that. So, look, we've got to move him on. I think we're going to be left a little bit light in the midfield, but we would have Eriksen, Casemiro, Agate and Mainu. We need to move him on. And wherever he goes, I just think it's another embarrassing indictment on the signing of Casemiro. I mean, look, the horrible thing is, I will say it, the horrible thing is, remember Erik ten Hag's first 2 games at Man United? We lost to Brentford and Brighton. And across that 2 weeks, United was sort of like saying we haven't got any money. And then after those 2 losses, it was like we found a couple of $100 million under the bed, because we went and spent 80 on Anthony and 60 on Casemiro. We found 140 million. And if ever there was an advert for panic buying and not doing it, that would be it. Because both of those players have been an absolute... Both of those... I mean, if you think about it, that's £140 million in transfer fees and well over £500,000 in wages a week. I mean, that's enough to sink a club. Those 2 deals are, and they were right next to each other as well. Those 2 deals have absolutely screwed us over, haven't they? But look, what the future is for Casemiro, I don't know. But we do need to move him on. And I think Amorim explaining why is probably the same thought process that you've had as well. Interesting though, isn't it? Because I think when you look at Casemiro and the way that he's behaved, I think that Amorim thinks the same about Rashford and Casemiro. You're not part of my plans. But Casemiro has consistently been on the bench, albeit not used. Rashford can't even get on the bench. And I think that is something I would say about Casemiro, is that regardless of whether he's good enough and, you know, whether he's been a flop or not, and I think he is a flop, unfortunately, I don't think one season at that price and that wage is good enough for him not to be a flop. At least he is clearly showing professionalism, because Casemiro has continually been on the bench. I think with Amorim, he just doesn't rate the player for his plan, but he certainly doesn't disrespect the player. Otherwise, he wouldn't have him on the bench. So at least he's continued to show professionalism, Casemiro, despite, you know, not being part of the plans. Rashford obviously is a little bit different. Now, it's interesting with Marcus Rashford tonight, because there are some developments around Rashford that I found quite interesting today. And I want to bring in this story about Amorim and how he behaved at Sporting and the similarities of what has happened with Rashford. But essentially, Manchester United, I'm trying to remember where this came in from, but Marcus Rashford is still holding out for a move to, well, actually it came from Chris Wheeler. In the Daily Mail, Borussia Dortmund have come up with the best package if Marcus Rashford would be more open to a move to the Bundesliga. Marcus Rashford is still very focused on a Barcelona move, and that is why we're in this position. However, Chris Wheeler goes on to say that Tottenham, West Ham, Borussia Dortmund, Juventus and Galatasaray are the clubs interested in Rashford if Barcelona does not materialise. Now, this fills me with some hope, because it's no longer about what we want as fans, Rashford going. I don't think we're in a race to the transfer deadline hoping, oh, I'd really love it if Rashford went. I think we've gone beyond that. I think we're in a position now where, you know, even today there's reports that Ruben Amorim and Marcus Rashford aren't even on talking terms. I mean, Slow Sports News, would you be on talking terms with a manager that's just completely and utterly destroyed your brand? I mean, he's a football player, so he shouldn't be that bothered. But Marcus Rashford, the brand, is very, very big. And Amorim has absolutely destroyed it with what he said at the weekend. So I don't think Marcus Rashford's going to be in a rush to give him a birthday card yesterday and give him the bumps. He might throw him up in the air and drop him. But no, obviously, this goes beyond what we think as fans about Rashford. This is a complete and utter disintegration of a relationship between a player and a manager where there's no trust. So it doesn't matter if you're Player FC, and it doesn't matter if you want Rashford to be sold. We're irrelevant now. That there was a time where that conversation was good, but it's not relevant now. This is 2 people who just have to part ways. So it's encouraging that there is Dortmund, Spurs, West Ham, Galatasaray, Juventus there if Barcelona can't do a deal. And I've always said, in fairness, if you're Marcus Rashford and Barcelona are saying we're trying to do a deal for you, you've got every right to think, well, look, I don't want to rush and go to AC Milan or Dortmund because Barcelona might, you know my luck, Barcelona will go and sign someone, then it could have been me. So I think him holding out for Barcelona, as much as he probably is irritating a lot of people at the moment, including the manager, I don't think you can begrudge a player, no matter what you think of them, wanting to follow their dream. And Barcelona would be a pretty good glow up from where he is at the moment, where he's been dropped for about 6 weeks and being completely slated, justifiably, by everybody in the English game, if he can end up at Barcelona, who are going for a title in a Champions League, that's pretty decent, isn't it? But what's encouraging is that if it doesn't happen, there are potentially other deals that can happen. What would you think about Marcus Rashford going, if there's no other option, what would you think about him signing for Spurs or West Ham on the transfer deadline day? Because I was thinking about this, and at the start of the month, I would have been absolutely cannot let him go to another Premier League club, because even though he wouldn't play against Man United, he wouldn't be out of sight, out of mind. You know, every week, you're still going to get asked questions about Marcus Rashford because he's going to be there on Match of the Day. He's going to be there all the time. The press are going to be, you know, the cameras are on Rashford every bloody Man United game anyway. Imagine what it would be like if he was playing for West Ham or Spurs. So that would be a big problem. I mean, I'm not going to sweep that under the carpet. That would be a big issue. I would rather Rashford went abroad where he's out of sight, out of mind, hopefully does well, and there's a move in the summer. But in the Premier League, it's a little bit more in your face. It's like selling Garnacho. I don't want to sell Garnacho, but I certainly don't want to see him playing in the bloody Premier League for somebody else. But on the other hand, we all know the Premier League is cash rich. There's a lot of rich clubs in the Premier League compared to Spain and Italy and Germany. So someone like West Ham, who are desperate for a forward, they probably could pay at least 50% of Rashford's wage. So I wouldn't, if it's the only option, I'd do it. I wasn't happy about Sancho going to Chelsea, but if it's the only option, I would do it. But it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. Now, I think this is going to be really interesting. This came in from Ruben, not Ruben Amorim, although it could be under a code name. So Ruben is a journalist over in Portugal, and basically sent us this yesterday, which I've kept back for the show. And he said, look, Marcus Rashford isn't the first victim of Ruben Amorim's antics. Throughout his still short but eventful career, Ruben Amorim has made it crystal clear that he is the one in charge of the team. No precedents, no directors, no presidents, no players, no player FC, and certainly not the fans. Inside the locker room, no one is bigger than him. And while Amorim undoubtedly has a way with words, it's his actions that truly defined his leadership style. At the start of his managerial career, with everything to prove and a 10 million price tag hanging over him, he didn't shy away from setting the tone at Sporting. Early on at Sporting, he made headlines by dropping Jeremy Matu, arguably the team's biggest name at the time. Matu was a fan favourite and a seasoned veteran with experience at Barcelona and the French national team. He was also one of Sporting's top earners, yet Amorim benched him without hesitation. Much like Rashford, Amorim dropped Matu, a fan favourite, and never looked back, having harsh words for the Frenchman. He said, I don't care if you played for Barcelona. The best will be there for the game. Everyone will have to fight, and if they don't, others will play. We're at a great club, and anyone who doesn't want to be here won't be here. And that's what really attracts me to players, their hunger. They have to be hungry to play for Sporting, and whether it's Matu or someone else, the important thing is they have a lot of hunger and a lot of desire. Did anyone just hear an echo? I mean, that is uncanny, isn't it? And look, we can't know all this. We can't know all this. And this is why it's great when people from Sporting and the journalistic world over there reach out to us, because we can't know the ins and outs of Amorim's career. We're learning it by the day. But that almost brings a tear to the eye, because it's like, I like this manager even more. I mean, I know a lot about his style. I know a lot about the way he's built a relationship with the fans. But he don't take any bloody shit, does he? I mean, for all that, he's a smiling assassin, actually. I mean, he's the sort of guy who could take you out for dinner, make you feel like £100, and then you get home and you die from food poisoning. He's absolutely amazing. But there is clearly a steely side. You don't do what he's done at his age by being everybody's friend. And I think all I wanted personally, and obviously people are going to get their comments in, all I wanted personally was the death of Player FC. I like Paul Pogba, but as I said this morning, he can't come back. He brings a load of brandification and Player FC with him, and I don't think it's even his fault. I look at Man City and I'm envious. I look at Liverpool and I'm envious. I look at Arsenal and I'm envious. They are the three best teams in the country, and there is no brandification. There is no razzmatazz. There is no headlines. There is only team. There is only team, and the biggest people in those clubs are the managers. Whether it was Jurgen Klopp or now Arne Slot, whether it's Pep Guardiola or Mikel Arteta. Yet at Manchester United, the manager has always played second fiddle. Even Mourinho ended up playing second fiddle to the likes of Paul Pogba. Rangnick certainly did to the likes of Ronaldo and Rashford and everybody else. So we've now got the man that I grew up with. I grew up with a manager that had the likes of Ronaldo and Rooney and Keane and Giggs and Beckham, but there was never any question that Sir Alex Ferguson was the guy. And if anybody ever challenged that, i.e. David Beckham, you're out. And David Beckham was sort of like there going, I love Man United, I love you, I want to stay. Yeah, but your brand Beckham is overshadowing my team. Lovely lad, but you're going. David Beckham was fantastic. I mean, I'd have 11 David Beckhams every day of the week. But his brand did start to overtake Man United. He was not an idiot, and he was not an arsehole. David Beckham was fantastic. He wasn't late for training. He wasn't a problem. It was unfortunate for Beckham because he became this massive star, and it did start to overshadow the team. But he didn't want it to, but it just did. And Sir Alex wasn't going to have it. And in Amorim, we have got this guy, and it's very interesting to read how he spoke about that Matu, because it's very similar to Rashford, isn't it? It's almost as if, and look, I wouldn't say that Marcus Rashford isn't deserving of it. I mean, he's not trying in training apparently, and he's not performing on the pitch. So I wouldn't say Amorim looked at it and went, I need a sacrificial lamb. I'm going to pick anybody. But I think if any player had done their bloody homework, they might have realised that he's definitely going to find a sacrificial lamb. And that's obviously what worked with him at Sporting, and it's worked here. I genuinely think Amorim walked in with the intention of doing what he's done to Rashford to somebody. And I genuinely think it's been a brilliant, brilliant masterstroke of managerial prowess. Because you come in to a club that has a weak mentality and a massive inconsistency, you walk into the dressing room and you take somebody that is respected and is a big name, and you basically turn them into the villain, and you out them as everything that you don't want. So, doesn't perform, doesn't work hard in training, and you basically, scapegoat's not the word, sacrificial lamb is, this is what I don't want, this is what I'm not going to put up with, and I'll do it to a player like this. And everybody else goes, shit, he's one of our biggest earners. He's been here for years, and they go, if we can do it to him, they can do it to us. Let's get to work. And exactly the same thing happened at Sporting then. He did it to their bloody captain, a fan favourite. So it instantly, in a very short period of time, separates the wheat from the chaff and basically says, you're either with me or against me, but I'm in charge. And if you fuck about, you're out. And look, we haven't seen the result of that yet. But to be honest with you, Rome was never going to get built in a day anyway. And I think we were always going to have to take a step back to go take a step forward. But it's interesting. Very, very interesting. Thank you to Ruben for sending us that through. Tracy Taylor says, about time. These players have had their own way for far too long. Great show, Mark, says Tracy. Well, thank everyone who's tuning in tonight again, because we have got the Here We Go video for Dorgo. That's already out if you want to check that. Love United Hate Ops says, make an example of him. And that's the right term. You're right. It sucks that this is the only signing we'll do, says Patrice Evra. I wanted to talk about that. Come and remind me about that in a moment. Andreas has been a member for 18 months, everybody. Shaw's about to go on a legendary run uninjured, says Brian. Mate, I tell you what, if Luke Shaw, who is absolutely injury prone, gets fit and stays fit now, he's been blagging us, hasn't he? I mean, if that happens now, it's great for us, but, surely that can't happen. Amorim did the same to Slimani, and at the time, he was one of the best players at Sporting and top earner in that time. He put him to the side, says Nagado. That quote about Amorim at Sporting, says Nicholas Thornton. Hi, Mark. Who do you think is more important for that? Rashford leaves the club in this window. Rashford himself, Amorim, or the club, says Rice and Peas. I put Rashford in the same category as Sterling. Yes, the potential is there to be amazing, but personality isn't there, says Mr. Glenn Johnson. What's your ideal signing for the summer, Mark? Actually, I'm not talking about the summer, mate. We've still got a transfer window here to get through. Ideally for me, I just want to get to Tuesday morning and Garnacho's still here. I think it's just so important that we don't sell young players. I know some of you don't agree with that, but for me, I just want to get to that situation. I'd close the window now. I really would. I'm hoping that with Dorgu, I'm trying to think about if we're paying them 25 million now, I'm hoping. Can anyone tell me how long the contract is? I think it's 5 years. I'm hoping we've split that down to like 10, 10, 5 over the next 3 years. I mean, even better, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. And what I mean by that is that we're paying in installments. I've not heard anything about that yet, but I'm hoping that that deal is being done in installments, because if it is 10 million in year one, I'm hoping that with some of the loan deals we're doing, we might be able to cover that off. I mean, I was kind of trying to do some quick maths, but I was like, if Anthony is going to Betis and they're covering 83% of his wages, let's say that's 100 grand a week, that's 400 grand a month across 5 months, is 2 million. So that's 2 million on Anthony. If you can do half of Casemiro's wage at 150, that might be another 3 million. That's 5 million. And if we can do it with Rashford as well, then that's another maybe 7.5 million just in saved wages. That might be the first down payment on Dorgu. So I'm hoping that if we're doing it in installments, we can cover off year one on the savings we're making on these loans. But it's going to be tight, and I am a little bit worried that we could still end up selling Garnacho. I mean, look, Matt Law from the Daily Telegraph, who's very close to Chelsea news, he said today that Garnacho talks with Chelsea slowed down over the weekend. So I'm hoping that that's the end of that, because Napoli can't afford him. Unless we do something really stupid, Napoli can't afford him. Napoli can't go higher than 45 million, and that's just not enough. Doesn't matter what you think about Garnacho, that's not enough. The only real threat is a Premier League club and Chelsea. But if Chelsea have slowed down, I can't see how we sell him. So I'm hoping that we can keep Garnacho. I'm not saying that we shouldn't sell Garnacho in the future, but I think the way he's been playing in the last couple of games, I think there's been an adjustment and to Amorim's system, and I would like to keep him. I mean, do I think we'll do any other business in the next few days? Look, the fact that we've done Dorgu with a week left means that we might. I think if Garnacho goes, we'll have to do something else. What that would be, I mean, the Salzburg lad. I still think the Salzburg lad could happen, but that's from what I've seen of him, he's less. Even though he's 22 and he's 2 years older than Dorgu, I think he's more of a project than Dorgu. I think going from Salzburg to Man United, I think he's a project player, even though he's 22. So I think we'd have to be very patient with him. And we're not really linked to anybody else as well. I suppose that's the thing. We're not really linked to anybody else. Look, I'd love to bring another midfielder in. I'd love to bring a striker in, but I don't think we're going to do it. I really don't. Everybody wants a striker at the moment, and we certainly don't have the funds to do it. PJ says, I love what Amorim is doing mentally to the players. Separate the men from the boys. United shouldn't have weak-minded people. Maguire has fought hard, says PJ. Demar says that Garnacho got his head down and worked hard. No social media post, just got his head down and now he's starting games. That's all Rashford had to do. Mojo says no cash, huge debt, selling players to fund interest and costs to manage PSR, huge losses. That's basically telling me we're not even a cash cow anymore. So why don't the Glazers get lost and take Ineos with them, says Mojo. Mate, can you think, the Glazers ain't going anywhere. I don't know whether I've said this, but we all wondered why the Glazers were hanging about, right? If you knew you could get 5 billion from Qatar for Man United, and that was around the value of the football club, but then you knew that there was the possibility that the government were going to regenerate the area around Old Trafford, and if you could build a stadium, you'd be pissing money into the club for decades. Why would you go? I think they've projected that they're going to make a lot more money out of this football club over the next 10 years. Now, some people think it'll be a Super League. Some people think it'll be a change in the way TV deals are done. But I certainly think that the Glazers know there's a lot more money to be made out of that football club. That's why they're here. It's just us realising how that's going to happen, and at some point we will. Was the 55 million for Branthwaite used on Dorgu, and if so, why will they use the remaining 30 to sign a striker? Kevin, we definitely haven't got 55 million. You've got to think of it like this. If we'd got Branthwaite, we wouldn't have been giving Everton 55 anyway. We would have been probably giving them 15 in year one. So maybe that was what we gave Ten Hag. I don't think we had 55 million. Tracy Taylor, about time these players had their own way for too long. Great show. I think I've done that one, but thank you, Tracy. Tom Campbell says, evening Bridgestone. I have it on good authority that Ineos negotiation for Dorgu was to call Lecce and ask how much is that Dorgu in the window. Tom. Emily Derry says, Amorim knows he can't afford to mess around, never mind wanting to. The size of the job is too big. Tom Bowler says, hi Mark, what I don't get is why Ineos can't buy the debt on an interest-free loan to bring the payment down, which would free funds for new players, says Tom. Tom, we're back into financials again. I think people look at Ineos and go, they're a multi-billion pound business. Why don't they clear the debt and refinance it? And it would save Man United a lot of money. But what you've got to realise is that Ineos has shareholders and isn't football focused. They certainly won't want to chuck billions into Manchester United. They've already put 1.2 billion in, and they'll want a return on that investment. So Jim Ratcliffe may be the founder and owner of Ineos, but it does have shareholders and it does have a business to run away from football. So Jim Ratcliffe doesn't have the personal wealth on him to put that money in. And also, 28% is not 100%. It's not his club. It's not his club. Why should he clear the debt? So, yes, I think if he owned all the club and he was cash rich, he might do it. But this ownership model is a very confusing one. And I don't think there is any appetite from Sir Jim Ratcliffe to pump his own money in to help the club out any further than what he already has. And that 1.2 billion, which is a substantial amount of money, didn't come to the club. It went to the pocket of the Glazers and didn't come back in. I mean, personally, it just shows you the grip the Glazers have on the club. Because if I was Sir Jim Ratcliffe and I was paying 1.2 billion for 28%, I'd be saying, we're going to work together, put 500 million of that back into the club or clear some of the debt. But they didn't. And it just shows you how powerful the Glazers are. 2 predictions. Neymar's contract terminated, opens the door for Casemiro. Solskjaer, new Besiktas manager, opens the door for Rashford, says Marlow. Fernando, well, I'd be happy with both of those, Marlow, because we'd move them on. Fernando Perez says, Madri Bridge, how much for Luke? Luke who? Sure. Ain't going anywhere, mate. No one's going to buy him. Double D says, PR team should be fired. New manager in a new league like a lamb to the slaughter, being put in front of vultures just waiting to destroy him. Headlines about the manager and not the crap he has to use and his idiot bosses. I don't know. Look, I think the communication side, I hoped it would improve with Ineos, and it hasn't. And I really hoped that we would start to adopt a more intelligent model around our manager. Because, look, Erik ten Hag was hung out to dry at the start of the Ineos reign from this period to the summer. You know, nobody protected him. And I thought, well, maybe he's not their guy. They won't do it anyway. But then since Amorim's come in, there's nobody protecting him anyway. Like, nobody's doing anything. And look, I know Dan Ashworth's gone, but you've still got Wilcox as technical director. You've still got Darren Fletcher. You've still got Barada. You've still got Blanc on the board. Sir David Brailsford's on the board. I do think they should be doing more to protect him. He constantly talks about how he needs more time on the training ground, and yet he's constantly doing interviews. Dorgu needs to make sure rotten eggs, Rashford and Casemiro are gone before they can corrupt his young, talented mind. I trust Amorim to sort that out, though, says Josh. What's your ideal signing for the summer? We've done that from Akshat. Appreciate it, mate. Dorgu to unlock Garnacho, says Daryl. Look, if we can get a left-sided player, we'll get balance. If we can get a left-sided player that can go forward, we'll get crosses in the box. If we can get crosses in the box and overlapping, that will create space for Garnacho, Bruno, Ahmad. It could create opportunities for Xerxes or even Rasmus. So this could be and should be transformative. It's just going to be how transformative it is. Just wanted to say thank you to you and your whole team. Doing a great work. Channel is better than ever. Proud to be part of this community, says Alexander. You're a legend, mate. Thank you for being so nice. Quenda next. 94th percentile for chances created. I think Quenda. That's a lovely red. I think Quenda is absolutely a player that Amorim would love to bring to Manchester United, but you're not dealing with a relegation side there. You're dealing with a team that has a rich tapestry of getting very good prices for players, and we are not cash rich enough to get Gwenda at the moment, so I don't think that will happen. Null says, hi, I'm turning 18 in a few hours. I just want to say thank you for helping me through some tough times the last few years, says Null. And thank you very much for that. Al Tau says, why doesn't Romano talk on the United Stand anymore? Mate, we had Romano on for about 4 years. That was a bloody good run. We had a good contract there, but the contract negotiations and renewals were way out of our budget. So we wish Romano all the best. He is the number one, and I'm very proud that when he started on here, he was still pretty big, but for us to retain Romano, I mean, it's a bit like keeping Cristiano Ronaldo at your club for 4 years. We just couldn't sustain that anymore, unfortunately. But he's a legend, and we'll always have that time. So, and who knows in the future? Maybe he will come back. Pinot Red, I think it is. Is that right? Yeah. Mark Radcliffe Romano. Yeah, he's outgrown the club. He's gone to a bigger club now. He's gone to Club Romano. Also, I think as well, it also got to the point where, look, I'll speak openly. I love Fabrizio Romano. I've watched his career grow from nothing. I do detect that him and Dimarzio don't get on, though, because Dimarzio tweets something and then he comes out with something else. And I thought that they had a good relationship. Anyway, I look at Fabrizio and I did start to think towards the end, it was becoming increasingly harder for him to give us anything exclusive, because if he had anything exclusive, it's in his interest to tweet it himself, because that's where you get everything. And also he's got his own content as well. So I think towards the end, it was sort of like, it was almost difficult for me or Beth to ask questions, because even if we asked the right question, I don't think we were necessarily going to get it anyway. So I think it works better for everybody now. We can talk about what Fabrizio says, and I think it's just evolution. And you know me, I don't have any grudges or issues or anything like that. And collaborations like that are very good. I think it's been very, very good. Where do you envisage we will be as a club in 5 years? Thanks for the legendary channel, says Simon, one of our members, for 16 months. I think it's a big guessing game, mate. I mean, it's almost like putting a memory box and burying it in the sand, and you'll never know the outcome of whether anybody will ever find it. I could tell you where we'll be in 5 years, and if I got it right, I wouldn't want anybody to say, "Oh, he's a visionary." I don't know. It's just a pure guess. I think that in 5 years' time, we could be terminally out of the top 6, or in 5 years' time, we might have established ourselves back as a title contender. I don't sit on the fence. I think that I'm really happy with the manager. I do think he'll get the style of play he wants to play at some point. And if he does, I think we'll start to climb the league. But what I have noticed is that I think there was an era in the Premier League where we went through it, actually. We won the Premier League 3 years in a row around the treble. And then sort of around the mid-noughties, was it like 2003 to 2007? We fell off. We really fell off. Arsenal were the best team, won the Invincibles. And then Mourinho's Chelsea came along. And we were off. We were off for 3 years. And I was worried. I was like, is this the end? Because we'd had a good run, 15 years. And longer than that, really, 15 years. You're talking 2003, nearly 20 years. So I thought, well, we've had 20 years. That's the end of that. And then, obviously, Ronaldo came in and he rebuilt another team. And then we won the Premier League 3 years in a row again, in the back arse of the noughties. Noughties are 2000 to 2010, by the way. It's not people getting the tits out or anything like that. And anyway, so my point is, you can think that you're out of it and then you're back. But the difference between that period where United were out of it for 3 or 4 years was that the Premier League was such that if Man United were out of it for 2 or 3 years, all right, Chelsea and Arsenal might be better than you, but you'd still be third or fourth. Nowadays, if you're out of it, you're in the bottom half. So that's what worries me about the Premier League at the moment, is that in 2005 or whenever it was, where we weren't the best team anymore and we'd sort of fell off and we had to rebuild, you always knew if you rebuilt, you'd be back amongst it right at the top. Whereas now I look at it and I go, well, even if Amorim does get it right and does get the players and does get us playing better, the next step is, can you be better than Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City, Chelsea? Because teams are a lot stronger now. So, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I can't predict where we're going to be. I think we will get better. I think we will get better. I think we will play better football, and I think it'll all happen under Amorim. But the way we're trying to do things still, to me, looks like we're doing it long-term cheap. I think we're going to do it on younger players, on cheaper wages, and that will take time to build a team that can do that. It could take 5 years to build that team. And even when you've built it, there might be 2 or 3 teams better than ours anyway. So I can't put us back on top of English football anytime soon. I think the project is a long one, and it's going to be a steady one. I don't think we're going to see big money spent. I think we're going to be building a project, and we're going to be building a stadium, and we might not win the Premier League for another 10 years. So if you're asking me, I don't see us winning the Premier League in the next 5 years, no. But I would hope that we will see some progression. I think if the Glazers had sold and we'd got rich owners, I could easily see us winning the title in the next 5 years. But this one's going to be a longer road, I think. Rory C says, I'm excited. We're quietly developing very young squad. Let's just hope they all work out and then onwards and upwards. The big thing for me, Rory, is, and I suppose the Garnacho thing is symbolic, is that for all these young players we're buying, are we buying them to be here for the next 10 years to build a team, or are we buying them in cheap with the prospect of selling them in 2 or 3 years for profit? That sounds horrible, but at the moment I'm not completely convinced that we wouldn't sell some of these players in 3 or 4 years' time for profit, and have a conveyor belt of young players. Because a lot of clubs are doing it. Chelsea are doing it. Aston Villa are doing it. Everton are doing it. Newcastle are doing it. But we're something a bit different. I don't think we should ever be doing that. Shout out to Mark. I've been a member for 53 months and I've watched you grow as a person, mate. You weren't this calm. Love to see the growth, says Demar. Still get very criticised, mate, though. Still get very criticised. But yeah, love the community. Say it with more sincerity. Love the community. And it's been a nice night tonight, you know. I'm very excited about Dorgu. I mean, look, despite the negativity about the price, I think we should always... I'm somebody that thinks we should hold our owners to account. I don't like this deal. I don't like a lot of the things they've done. I don't think they deserve the benefit of the doubt. I think the trust needs to be earned. And therefore, everything should be scrutinised, from knocking Old Trafford down to cutting charities to overpaying on transfers to looking to sell young players like Mainu or Garnacho. We must scrutinise and hold them accountable, because if we don't, they'll do more bad things. But I'm also fair. I thought that the summer transfer window was good. I thought the appointment of Amorim was good. And I think the signing of Dorgu is good. And there will be some good stuff in there. And God, we should cling to it and enjoy it when it happens, because there'll be plenty of time to, moan and be unhappy, I think. And that could be tomorrow. Who knows? Is the media waiting for Amorim to fail so they can point out his system as the reason, says Hurtful Replies. I'm sure they've got them in the drafts, yeah. George Mitchell says, also worth considering how lower teams are overachieving when we're underachieving. They lose key players who knows where, and we end a season like this, says George Mitchell. Where will United stand be in 5 years, says Tracy Taylor. Well, it's always been my ambition to witness, as a United stand, Manchester United winning the Premier League. Now, 10 years ago, I thought that was easy. Where I am today, I don't know that is possible. But I take it, as I've said to you before, I take it year to year, and effectively, we, I always look at it in the summer and think, do I want to do another year? And at the moment, I'm thoroughly enjoying it. So, I think the the Amorim era, as much as it's hard work, I think there's something there. I really do. I think we've got a manager that I never thought we were going to have again. And it's somebody that it reminds me of Rangnick, as I said. I don't even mention Sir Alex. Rangnick, for me, was a saviour missed. I think we missed the boat big time. I think he's the guy that spoke the most sense since Sir Alex Ferguson, and we blew it. Apparently, Dortmund were looking at him today. We blew it. I didn't want Rangnick to be the manager. I wanted him to be the director of football. And I think we blew it. I think we're 3 years behind because we didn't get Rangnick. And who knows where we would have been. I mean, the amount of players he mentioned that have now gone to other clubs and been good. So I'm very excited about Amorim because he's the best thing we've had since Rangnick in relation to the way he speaks. And I'm intrigued to see whether we'll, stab him in the back and burn him out, or whether we'll actually listen to him. And at the moment, it looks like they're listening. So I'm excited. Rob says, don't go. We need someone to sell. To pay for a new TV, says Angel Bomb. FCSB supporter, I've been a long time supporter, says okay. Yeah, preview's going up early tomorrow. We're so busy at the moment. We're sort of missing the opportunity to do previews for games. But just while the transfer window's open, the previews are probably going to be a little bit all over the place. But we've got the FCSB Europa League preview going up at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, because obviously we've got the 10 o'clock show and then press conference and everything tomorrow. Wednesday tomorrow. We will Dorgu, says Ardu, like rock you, isn't it? Patrick Lynch says, the fact that we know the name of all these young players means one thing: PR. Get the names out there. The more people know, the more prospective buyers. It's mercenary, says Patrick Lynch. Thank you very much. And appreciate that as well. Dorgu in the team on Thursday, says Jordan. I mean, look, I'd never thought of that. I don't think that could happen. Least of all because it's the last Europa League game. Would he even be registered in the squad? I don't think it can happen. I don't think he can play on Thursday, can he, actually? Because you have to name a Europa League squad. But, yeah, I mean, it wouldn't happen anyway. He's got to do his medical. But for Sunday, I'd like to see him in the squad. And because it's such an important position, I would like to see him in that squad, definitely. What's the Garnacho news, says Greg? Just an update from Matt Law, who's a journalist for the Daily Telegraph with close connections to Chelsea, basically saying that the Garnacho deal has slowed down over the weekend for Chelsea. The thing that worries me now is there is still Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. We've still got 6 days left in this window. And as David Ornstein said this morning, he's expecting stuff to happen around Man United and Chelsea. So I'm still very nervous about this. I can't remember ever being... I certainly have been in this position before, but I can't remember being... It's normally you're watching the transfer window hoping we can do a deal before it closes. I'm in the situation now where I just want it to bloody close, which is such a small club mentality. I mean, I'm sure there's loads of clubs out there that aren't big clubs who are just hoping it sells so that it closes so they can keep their big players. But I'm just really hoping that we can be in this position next week and Garnacho's still here. But I can't sit here and say I'm confident about that at the moment. Thomas says, no talk of Dorgu. We literally did. Here we go at 7 o'clock, mate. So it's a completely different video, but we're very happy to have him here, certainly. And I'm sure we'll hear more tomorrow about medicals and everything. But I would imagine tomorrow will be medical and then official announcement, maybe tomorrow evening, maybe Thursday morning. I don't want to scare people, actually, but it's not uncommon to have a here we go and then not have a bloody official announcement for a week. Oh, God. I've just thought, what if Man United just don't do the official announcement till Monday because they're not going to do any other business? That's happened before, hasn't it? Where we know this deal's going to happen, but the official... Well, it might not happen till Monday now. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Hopefully tomorrow. Mr. Cheetah has just gifted a membership. Rashford suits Spurs, says Keel. I think he does. I just don't know whether... I think Spurs is dangerous, but in a way, he wouldn't be able to play us in the Europa League final if Spurs got there and we got there anyway, would he? So... Why do you have a press conference before and after every game? An untouchable tradition. I don't think you need a press conference after every game, to be honest with you. I really don't. I think a manager should just be interviewed by the TV station covering it, and that's it. I don't think you need to sit down and have a press conference after a game. For me, it's a bit of a silly tradition. Before a game, I think there should be one a week, definitely. Goldbridge is tiring here. The wine is going down well, says Liam. It actually is. It's making me feel quite tired. But look, very happily, very, very happy that we have got the player over the line today. And if I could close the window now, I'd close it. But the fact that it's open for another 6 days means that there's potentials, ins and outs. I just really think that we must be able to raise some money for the Dorgu deal without selling Garnacho. And Rashford's wage, Casemiro's wage, Anthony's wage must raise enough to cover that first payment. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. Ladios says, I love drinking wine and going to sleep. Okay, thanks everybody for watching. I'm going to end it a little bit early tonight because I'm knackered. But who knows? Could be back later. Could be another breaking story. Could move on to something else. But for now, Dorgu is a red. And I'm going to get ready for bed. Thanks everyone for watching. Not because I'm just going to sleep. Thank you everybody. Fantastic conversations today. Nice to finish the day on a positive. And let's hope for some more positives over the next few days. But I'm really pleased that we can finally say we've got a left back after 2 years. We own a left back that can start. I know we had Regwell on at the start of the season before last, but he was on loan. This is actually a player that hopefully can grow and become a really good player for us. Mark, my good deed for today, can you say hi to Kyle? That's from Gavin, and hi to Kyle. And bye to Kyle, and bye to all of you. Speak to you soon. Take care. Thanks for watching.